Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Eddie Sutton Show. After a short holiday break, we're back with you. In the 2 weeks we were gone, and incidentally, we hope everybody had a very Merry Christmas. We'll have a very happy New Year in 1997. And Eddie, since we last visited, we extended a couple of winning streaks and open play in the rugged Big 12.
Well, the two streaks you're talking about, we have a 68-game winning streak here in Gallagher, Iowa against non-conference opponents, and we increased that by beating SMU in a game where I thought we probably played about as well as we have all season. And then the other streak is over at Mabee Center in Tulsa, ORU's home court. We beat the University of Nevada, Reno, and I think we've won 12 straight games there. We have two non-conference games left. We still have to go back to Tulsa and play ORU, and then we also have a non-conference game on national television against the University of Nevada, Vegas. But once we hit Big 12, it was kind of rough. We opened play down in Austin and played what I think is probably one of the four top teams in the Big 12, the University of Texas, and then came home and played an old assistant coach of mine who's done a marvelous job with the program down at Texas Tech, James Dickey, and the Red Raiders came in here and beat us. So starting conference play, it's been a little tough in 1997. You know, talking about holidays, you know, we broke for 2 days and let the team off, and I told Patsy, my wife, the other day, I said, you know, I was thinking about this the other day. Basketball and holidays don't mix, because when you look at Halloween, you look at Thanksgiving, you look at Christmas, you look at New Year's, you look at Valentine's Day, you look at Easter, you're still playing basketball. And then you think, well, 4th of July we'll celebrate, but then you're recruiting. So I guess one of these days when I retire, I'll get to celebrate some of those. But for basketball coaches, there aren't too many holidays.
You get the trick or treat once you retire. You get out there and do what you haven't done in a long time. There's no question this team has not met the expectations of the coaching staff, maybe of the players themselves up to this point. But I think it should be emphasized here that the coaching staff, no one's given up on this bunch. It's a long season.
Well, I may have overestimated what I thought this ball club could do in preseason. I really felt with the returning people we had, plus the incoming freshman class, we would be a good basketball team. And I think the sports writers saw it that way because they picked us in the upper division. But we've been very inconsistent in our play, very spotty, and we just make enough mistakes to allow ourselves to get beaten. I think that there were a couple of games we probably should have won, but Texas Tech, Tulsa probably are better ball clubs than we are. But we haven't given up. Our players are still working hard, and you certainly couldn't fault them in the latest game that we played against Texas Tech. I thought the effort was tremendous, but Texas Tech very well could be the second best team in our league behind the University of Kansas. But we've got coming up here Missouri, we got going the road to Colorado, and then we got Vegas back here, and then we have to make that trip back to Lubbock. I don't think any of those games are not winnable, but I do believe that if we don't play better, then we're certainly in jeopardy of losing again.
Well, there's no question that the Cowboys turned in two of their better performances of the year to close out 1996. We have all the highlights coming up right after this message. Well, welcome back to the Eddie Sutton Show. And Eddie, the nation's longest home court winning streak against non-conference opponents hit 68 with that solid win over SMU.
And like I said earlier, I thought it was one of our best performances. We went out in the first 20 minutes and just played sensational defense and held the Mustangs to only 15 points and broke out to a 38-15 halftime lead. There's Keontae, who's really played well for us this year. I think he's 3rd or 4th nationally in field goal percentage. We just got to get him more shots in the ball game.
I think he's averaging just a little bit over 8 shots a game, and again, he's hitting most of those, but as you said, he needs to get more up, I guess.
We shot 53%. Great follow shot there by Desmond Mason. Desmond, I think in this ball game, had 8 rebounds. But we shot 53% from the field, and we shot 50% from beyond the arc, 10 out of 20 from three-point range. Out-rebounded them 37-32, and only had 10 turnovers. So when you have that kind of performance, you're going to beat most people.
You know, Mason seemed to come on in this game. We'll see a little bit later when the Cowboys went over to the Mabee Center that he had a real big night there. We jump out on top, you had to be feeling good there.
Well, like I said, our defense is sound. Good help there from the weak side. He still hit the basket, but we came from the weak side to give support. And Joe Atkins off to Desmond Mason, and he rings the bell for a tray. Adrian Peterson led the ball club in scoring with 22 points, and he is our leading scorer for the season. Nice turnaround jump shot there by Maurice Robinson, let's look at it again.
He was being held initially, but held his guy off with an arm.
I think one of the things that we've had problems with is scoring, and we haven't had a consistent effort from inside the paint area there. We just Brett Robies, Maurice Robinson, Alex Weber, they've been holding down the center position, but you've got to have a constant threat from inside. You want to always go inside with the ball, and that takes the pressure off the perimeter game. And I think a lot of ball clubs know that we haven't been consistent in the pivot position offensively, and as a result, they just really push the defenses out hard on us. But great crowd. It was an afternoon game, and like you said, it was just before it's our last home game in Gallagher, Iowa, in 1996.
This lack of offense really puts the coaching staff in a bind, and see Weber in close, because you don't really know what combination to put out there or how long to keep it out there to be effective.
Well, one thing we've done this year that I've never done in all the years that I've coached, we've played more people. We've been playing 10 people, and sometimes I think we've lost the continuity offensively, and from now on we probably may continue to play 10 people, but maybe not the minutes that some of them have been playing. We're going to try to find 7 or 8 guys, which most ball clubs try to do, and go from there.
Certainly not to be lost, and you and I talked about it before the show. The fact is, the substitution patterns, we seem to lose a little bit of effectiveness in that first substitution, maybe 6-7 minutes into the game.
Well, in our latest game with Texas Tech, I think that happened. We jumped out on them 10-3, and we started substituting a little bit when the kids looked like they were a little tired, and all of a sudden, they jumped out on us. They had a run going. So that's something that, we just haven't done a good job. Nice pass by Keontae. In this ball game, he had 7 assists, 10 points, and 9 rebounds.
Well, 9 nights later, the Cowboys made it 12-0. We'll see, going over to the Mabee Center. Really, since you took the reins here in Oklahoma State, that has been a great trip over to Tulsa.
That's a great arena. I think it's the best arena we have in the state of Oklahoma. I just wish there was some way we could just move it over here. And we've had great success, great fan support when we go over there. I think we have more alums in eastern Oklahoma and in Tulsa County and in the city of Tulsa than anywhere else in the state, and they certainly have come out to support us.
Mason seemed to come of age in this particular game, but like most freshmen, they're going to be up and down. He was up here.
Well, that's a nice shot by Joe Atkins. I think until the other night against Tech, he'd hit a tray in every one of our ball games.
He sure had.
He got shut out the other night against the Red Raiders, but Joe's gotten better.
This is a situation where we talked about playing assistants. You had an opportunity to go against Pat Foster here.
I like this game much better than I did against the Red Raiders, but I don't like to play assistants. But when you play Texas Tech, well, you're going to have to play James Dickey, whose brother Randall's on my staff, and because we're in the same league. But Pat Foster was with me when I coached at Arkansas and has done a great job everywhere he's been, at Lamar, Houston, and now at Reno.
And once again, a familiar pattern as we get an inside bucket there. Cowboys jump out on top and have a somewhat comfortable lead early.
Well, that was that's what we got to get more of. People driving into and making defenses collapse. Joe did a good job there. Great block there by Desmond Mason. You see it again.
Came from nowhere.
He hustles and comes from the weak side. And
took it away from Roberts. Roberts was ready to block that away.
I think Desmond can jump just a little bit higher than Keontae, although Keontae certainly is much stronger than Desmond. There's Desmond shooting a shot, and as you mentioned, he had a good game against Nevada. This was the second half of a doubleheader. We go over there to Tulsa, and all the money goes to a very charitable organization, Tulsa Education Fund. And another assistant of mine, Bill Self, his ball club defeated Southern Miss in the first part of this doubleheader.
We've seen Keontae on a number of occasions here in the highlights this week, and that's where he operates best, down low, and that's where you'd like to get the ball to him more times than not.
Well, we got to isolate him down low or create situations for him where he's 10, 12 feet away, where he can take the basketball and take it to the rack or to the hoop, because he's just very, very tough to cover.
The Cowboys were excited this particular night and played well. Solid 20-point win over Nevada. See a lot of action underneath, and look at Desmond.
This closed out. He got the tip, and it was a very, very good tip. That's one thing that Desmond, we've got to get him to continue to do, is to rebound the basketball. Nice pass by Jason off to Keontae, and he dunks the ball. Good defensive play right here. That's what you call running through a pass. He might have taken it all the way to the basket, but he drew the defender to him, and kicked it off to Keontae, and he flushed it home.
We're going to see another good assist coming up here shortly. And
see, I like that too. You saw Keontae last picture really with a lot of enthusiasm. That's one of the things I've told our squad. I don't think we play with passion, and I think in order to play a basketball, I think that's the way it's meant to be played, with a lot of enthusiasm, a lot of zest, and with passion. And that's one thing we try to encourage our ball club to do. And I thought we displayed that the other night against Texas Tech. They were just better than we were.
Well, it was definitely a family affair, maybe Oklahoma State's version of Family Feud when 20th ranked Texas Tech came to Gallagher-Iba Arena this past week. We'll tell you all about it after this timeout. We've heard Eddie say it time and time again how he dislikes playing former assistants who become head coaches at Division I schools. But what about when brothers line up on opposite benches and face each other? What happens then? Take a look.
James Dickey, nice to see you.
Golly. Right here in the corner, isn't it?
Yeah. How you doing? Great, thank you. How you doing? Ryan, great, thank you.
Our biggest concern, and it's much harder for our parents than it will be for James or myself, but I think we got to take the approach that my mother will have, that she'll be happy for one, sad for the other, but love both of us just the same.
Obviously, this is a special group of people. My brother, and then Coach Sutton, who gave me the greatest opportunity ever to give me a chance to be in major college basketball, and I've been around Sean, so a special family, and that's tough to compete against.
It's certainly been a dream come true for me, not only getting to the Division I level, but working for Coach Sutton, working for Oklahoma State University, and it really gave me the chance to foresee a little bit of a future and set the goal to be a head coach on a Division I level.
Well, Coach Sutton gave me a wonderful opportunity in 1981 to go to work for him at the University of Arkansas. He is one of the great coaches in America. He's a gentleman that does things first class. I have a tremendous amount of respect for what he has done on and off the court. His family's just been super to us. He gave me an opportunity to go to Kentucky with him, and I certainly would not be a head coach if it were not for Coach Eddie Sutton, and he's a man that I just have a tremendous amount of respect and strong feelings for.
There's 6 years difference between James and myself, and I think that we did have a few horse games and a few one-on-one matches, and it was a lot of fun. Competition's always been keen to both of us, but I can't remember him winning, though.
I've probably never beaten him in one-on-one because we've never played. I'm so much older than he is, although he looks older than I do, but there's no way that he could outshoot me in a game of horse.
James has done a marvelous job with that program at Texas Tech. You know, they had another outstanding coach in Gerald Myers when I was coaching Arkansas, and now he's the interim athletic director out there. And James went out there 1 year as an assistant with him, and then Gerald stepped down and gave the opportunity to James to coach. And the last year and this year, he's won 40 out of his last 44 games. Their record is 40-4, counting last season, and this year, of course, they're 10-2. And you know, I always cheer for him, and I keep in contact with all those former assistant coaches. But I guess I'm closer to James than anyone else because he was with me longer. He was with me 4 years at Arkansas and 4 years at Kentucky. And it's just a little different having to play him now that we're in the conference. I told him after the game of the night, I said, I think Bad T would look good in the NBA next year. He ought to go hardship, and you ought to go to another conference.
Well, let's look at Bad T. And Tech, Eddie, was as solid as advertised. We had a big crowd. They came out to watch him, too. Here you were telling us.
You know, it was a snowy night, but I thought our crowd, it wasn't a full house, but and it was televised, but I thought our crowd, it was near capacity. I thought they were excellent, did everything to try to help us. We started off strong. Our defense, I think they missed their first 7 or 8 shots, and we had the lead. And then all of a sudden, it was a dogfight the rest of the way. It was a close game for the first 15 minutes, and then all of a sudden, just before halftime, they jumped out to a 10-point lead. hard to play catch-up against a good ball club. I thought the thing that impressed me about Texas Tech, they really held their poise, and you know, they know how to win. There's something to be said for that. They go 30-2 last year. They lost some players, but they've got Batty, who I think is the best big man in our league. They got Corey Carr, who's certainly one of the best perimeter players, and they shoot the ball so well. They shoot over 50% from the field. They shoot over right at 70% at the line, and they just don't beat themselves.
As you said, they held their poise. Cowboys were in control after about the first 5 or 6 minutes of this game.
Right there, it was 10-3, and one of their guards hit a three-pointer, made it 10-6. We battled them, and like I said earlier, you can't fault our effort. Nice 2-on-1 fast break, and Desmond Mason hit a backhand layup. This is what's amazing. Batty is terrific. I mean, he's a terrific center and great passer and scorer. He hits 2 trays on us, and I think he was 0 for 5 going into. He never hit a three-pointer this year, but he certainly drained 2 of them on us.
Well, they made the most of the three-point attempts, and Brett had a nice game.
Brett Roby scored 10 points and had 4 offensive rebounds the first half. In the second half, I asked him after the next day, I said, you know, you got to put together a 40-minute game, not a 20-minute game, because he never scored again, and he only had 1 rebound in the second 20-minute period.
You see Keone on the bench with you. He didn't have much point action in the first half.
There's Batty hitting another one. No, Keontae, we've got, like I said, we've got to get him the ball more. In the second half, he came alive, and we did get the ball to him, and I think he ended up with double figures.
Yeah, you off. What were you feeling at halftime there? Again,
well, we're down 10 points, but I thought that I told the guys that, you know, we just got to get back out there and scrap and shut them out. And we scored the first 6 points, be in the second half, go up to 42-38. There's a good example of Keontae's strength. I mean, he just powered the ball. You give him an angle on a drive to the basket, and something good's going to happen.
Cowboys got back to within 4 down the stretch and had a couple of opportunities.
Our inability to hit free throws hurt us late. We've been shooting free throws much better than we did a year ago, but we were only 8 out of 15 in this game.
Well, he's tough down there.
Well, they shot 25 out of 45 from the field, 56%, and they hit 9 out of 15 from three-point line beyond the arc, and we tied them in rebounds. We shot 45%, which is about what we've been shooting for the year.
One of Keone's 6 steals on the night.
Pete led us in scoring. It was a nice tray there.
This one hurt right here with 3 seconds on the shot clock. The three-pointer by Carr onto the inbounds.
You know,
pass.
you play defense for 32 seconds, and the ball got knocked out of bounds, and I'll be darned if they didn't come up with it, and Carr hit a tremendous shot out of the corner. That's what our defense has got to do more of, too, right there. Intercept balls, pick up loose balls, and convert them into easy baskets. That's one of the things that's been hard for us, Tom. We don't get a lot of easy baskets.
Well, that wraps up the Texas Tech game, no question about that. Cowboys have Missouri on Saturday. We'll talk about that. We're going to empty out the holiday notebook. That all comes up after this timeout. Well, the old notebook's been a little crowded since the holiday break, so let's get right to it, cover a couple of items, and Eddie's starting over, talking about Estelle Laster's rehab.
His arm hasn't healed as well as we thought it would, and the doctors are letting him shoot, run around a little bit, but he's still not out there playing. And it's probably going to be at least a couple more weeks before we see Estelle. Of course, we're going to ask for a medical red shirt, but he could help us right now.
No one knows this better than you and your staff. Been a hard road, non-conference opponents, 50 games over 500 to begin the week.
Well, our non-conference schedule was strong, and certainly everybody in the Big 12 strong. There's not a weak team there.
Hot and cold, you alluded to it before, shooting 20% less on the road than yard hole.
Most ball clubs are not going to shoot as well on the road, but there shouldn't be that big a difference, and that's something we go to Boulder next week. I hope we get corrected.
Okay, Missouri in town Saturday, quickly.
Always a war. I mean, it's when Norm Stewart brings the Tigers to Gallagher-Iba, I don't think we've ever had an easy game, and the one Saturday will be a very tough one, but a very important one for us to win.
Yeah, no doubt about it. As you talked about, important. Not panic time, but a little sense of urgency.
Well, we just need to win and gain some confidence, and I liked our effort in our game with Texas Tech. If we have it that way Saturday afternoon, I think we'll beat the Tigers.
Well, remember again, Oklahoma State and Missouri, that's Saturday afternoon, 3 o'clock at Gallagher-Iba Arena. We'll see you there, and we'll see you right back here on the Eddie Sutton Show next week. Goodbye, everybody.